The Zolarians were a dying race. Their once thriving civilization, spanning a dozen star systems, now teetered on the brink of extinction. A rogue black hole, invisible and relentless, had entered their sector of the galaxy, devouring everything in its path. Their advanced technology, designed for peace and prosperity, was useless against such a force. Desperation drove them to send an SOS, a plea for help across the cosmos. They transmitted it in every known language, hoping some advanced species would hear their cry and intervene. But as the days turned to weeks, their hope dwindled. The black hole drew closer, and the Zolarians prepared for the end. On Earth, the signal was detected by a small observatory in the Chilean Andes. Dr. Elena Martinez, an astrophysicist, was the first to decode it. The message was fragmented, filled with urgency and despair. It spoke of a civilization on the verge of annihilation, begging for aid. Elena's heart raced as she realized the implications. She immediately contacted her colleagues, and within hours, the world's leading scientists and engineers were brought into the loop. The United Nations convened an emergency session, and for once, humanity put aside its differences. The Zolarians' plea had reached a species that, despite its flaws, had an innate drive to help others. The aliens, monitoring their communications array, were stunned when they received a response. It was not from the Krell, a race of interstellar engineers, nor the Voss, renowned for their military prowess. It was from Earth, a planet they had cataloged as primitive, unworthy of their attention. The message was simple. We hear you. We're coming. The Zolarians were baffled. How could a species that had barely mastered spaceflight hope to save them? Their scientists debated whether to even acknowledge the reply, but with no other options, they reluctantly agreed to wait. On Earth, the plan was audacious, bordering on insane. Humanity lacked the technology for interstellar travel, but they had something else. Ingenuity. A team of engineers proposed repurposing the International Space Station and a fleet of nuclear warheads to create a gravitational slingshot. The idea was to use the warheads to alter the trajectory of the black hole, buying the Zolarians time to evacuate. It was a long shot, but it was all they had. The world watched as nations pooled their resources, setting aside decades of mistrust. For the first time in history, humanity acted as one. The Zolarians, observing Earth's efforts, were both confused and intrigued. They had expected help from civilizations with sleek starships and energy weapons, not a species that relied on crude explosives and jury-rigged technology. Yet, there was something compelling about humanity's determination. They worked tirelessly, their scientists and engineers laboring around the clock. The aliens began to wonder if they had underestimated this strange, tenacious species. As the launch date approached, the world held its breath. The modified spacecraft, christened Hope, was a patchwork of salvaged parts and cutting-edge technology. It carried a payload of nuclear warheads and a small crew of volunteers, each aware of the risks. The mission was one way. Even if they succeeded, there was no guarantee they would return. But the crew was undeterred. They had seen the Zolarians' message, heard the desperation in their voices. For humanity, that was enough. The Zolarians watched as Hope left Earth's atmosphere, its engines burning brightly against the void. They still doubted the mission's success, but they couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Perhaps, they thought, this primitive species might surprise them. As Hope disappeared into the stars, the aliens prepared for the worst, but secretly hoped for the best. Humanity had answered their call, and for the first time in centuries, the Zolarians felt a glimmer of optimism. The black hole loomed closer, but for now, they waited. Humanity was coming. The journey was fraught with challenges from the start. Hope was not designed for interstellar travel, and its makeshift system strained under the pressure. The crew, a mix of astronauts, engineers, and scientists, worked tirelessly to keep the ship operational. They faced constant mechanical failures, resource shortages, and the psychological toll of being isolated in the vast emptiness of space. Yet they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that an entire civilization depended on them. The Zolarians, monitoring their progress from afar, were both baffled and impressed by humanity's tenacity. They had never seen a species so willing to endure hardship for the sake of others. As Hope ventured deeper into space, the crew encountered a critical problem. Their fuel reserves were depleting faster than anticipated. The ship's engines, cobbled together from repurposed technology, were inefficient for such a long journey. The crew debated their options, knowing that failure was not an option. In a bold move, they decided to reroute power from non-essential systems, sacrificing comfort and safety to keep the mission alive. The Zolarians, observing this, were struck by the crew's willingness to endure extreme conditions. They began to question their initial assessment of humanity as primitive and self-serving. The journey took its toll on the crew. Days turned into weeks, and the isolation weighed heavily on their minds. Communication with Earth grew sporadic as the distance increased, leaving them feeling truly alone in the cosmos. Yet, they found solace in their shared purpose. Each member of the crew had volunteered for the mission, fully aware of the risks. They reminded themselves of Zolarian's plight, of the millions of lives hanging in the balance. This sense of duty kept them going, even as the odds seemed insurmountable. A pivotal moment came when the ship's primary navigation system failed. Without it, Hope would drift aimlessly, doomed to never reach its destination. The crew's engineer, a brilliant but unassuming woman named Priya, proposed a risky solution. Using the ship's remaining fuel to perform a series of precise maneuvers, guided by manual calculations. It was a long shot, but it was their only hope. The crew worked together, their hands trembling with exhaustion as they input the data. The Zolarians, watching in real time, held their breath. They had never seen such determination in the face of certain failure. The maneuver was a success, but it came at a cost. The ship's fuel reserves were nearly depleted, and the crew was pushed to their physical and mental limits. Yet, they pressed on, driven by a singular purpose. The Zolarians, witnessing this, were deeply moved. They began to see humanity not as a primitive species, but as one capable of extraordinary feats of courage and selflessness. For the first time, they felt a glimmer of hope that their civilization might be saved. As Hope approached the Zolarian system, the crew faced one final challenge: navigating gravitational pull of the rogue black hole. The ship's systems were barely functional, and the crew was exhausted. Yet they refused to give up. Using every ounce of their ingenuity, they plotted a course that would bring them close enough to deploy their payload while avoiding the black hole's event horizon. It was a delicate balance, and one wrong move would doom them all. The Zolarians, now fully invested in the mission, offered what little assistance they could, guiding the crew through the final stages of their approach. The moment of truth arrived as Hope entered the Zolarian system. The crew, battered but resolute, prepared to deploy their payload. The Zolarians watched in awe as the small, fragile ship approached the black hole, its crew undeterred by the overwhelming odds. For the first time in centuries, the aliens felt a sense of kinship with another species. They realized that humanity's strength lay not in their technology, but in their unyielding spirit. As the crew activated the payload, a series of nuclear explosions erupted near the black hole, creating a shockwave that altered its trajectory. The Zolarians' instruments confirmed the success of the mission. The black hole was no longer on a collision course with their homeworld. Cheers erupted across their civilization, but their joy was tempered by the knowledge of what it had cost. Hope had been caught in the shockwave, its systems failing as it drifted helplessly into space. The Zolarians, now deeply indebted to humanity, vowed to honor their sacrifice. They dispatched a rescue mission, determined to bring the crew home. As their ships approached Hope, they reflected on a lesson they had learned. That true strength lies not in technology or power, but in the willingness to help others, even at great personal cost. Humanity had shown them a new way, and the Zolarians were determined to follow it. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had forged a bond between two species that would endure for generations to come. The Zolarians watched in stunned silence as Hope's payload detonated near the black hole. The nuclear explosions, carefully timed and positioned, created a shockwave that rippled through space, altering the trajectory of the cosmic threat. Sensors across their civilization confirmed the success. The black hole was no longer on a collision course with their homeworld. Relief swept through their population, but it was tinged with awe and disbelief. Humanity, a species they had once dismissed as primitive, had achieved the impossible. Yet their triumph came at a cost. Hope had been caught in the shockwave, its systems failing as it drifted helplessly into the void. The crew's fate hung in the balance, and the Zolarians knew they could not let their saviors perish. The aliens acted swiftly, deploying their fastest ships to intercept Hope. Their technology, far more advanced than humanity's, allowed them to navigate the treacherous gravitational fields with ease. As they approached the crippled spacecraft, they were struck by its fragility. It was a patchwork of salvaged parts and makeshift solutions, a testament to humanity's resourcefulness. The Zolarians boarded the ship, their hearts heavy with gratitude and guilt. They found the crew barely conscious, their bodies weakened by the journey and the strain of their mission. Yet, even in their diminished state, the humans radiated a quiet determination that left the aliens in awe. The Zolarians brought the crew aboard their ships, providing medical care and nourishment. As the humans recovered, the aliens began to learn more about them. They were struck by the crew's humility and camaraderie. There was no arrogance in their actions, no demand for recognition. They had risked everything simply because they believed it was the right thing to do. The Zolarians, accustomed to the cold logic of their own society, found this deeply moving. They began to see humanity not as a primitive species, but as one capable of extraordinary compassion and courage. The crew, for their part, was equally fascinated by the Zolarians. They had expected a cold, distant race, but instead found a people deeply grateful and eager to learn. The aliens shared their technology, offering to repair Hope and equip it with advanced systems. Yet, the humans were quick to point out that their success had not been due to technology, but to their willingness to take risks and think outside the box. This revelation sparked a profound shift in the Zolarians' perspective. They realized that their own civilization, for all its advancements, had become stagnant, relying too heavily on established methods and avoiding risks. Humanity's boldness had saved them, and they were determined to embrace that spirit. As the crew recuperated, the Zolarians began to implement humanity's solution on a larger scale. Using their advanced technology, they reinforced the shockwave's effects, ensuring the black hole would pose no further threat. The process was complex and required significant resources, but the aliens approached it with newfound determination. They were no longer content to simply survive. They wanted to thrive, to honor the sacrifice humanity had made. The crew, though still weak, offered their assistance, sharing their knowledge and working alongside the aliens. It was a partnership born of mutual respect, one that transcended the boundaries of species and technology. The collaboration yielded remarkable results. The black hole was permanently diverted, and the Zolarians' homeworld was safe. Celebrations erupted across their civilization, but they were tempered by a sense of introspection. The aliens had been given a second chance, and they were determined to make the most of it. They began to adopt human philosophies, emphasizing creativity, resilience, and empathy. Their society, once rigid and hierarchical, began to evolve, becoming more open and dynamic. The crew, witnessing this transformation, felt a deep sense of pride. They had not only saved the civilization, but had also inspired it to grow. The Zolarians, now deeply indebted to humanity, vowed to repay their debt. They offered to share their technology with Earth, accelerating humanity's development and helping them achieve interstellar travel. Yet, they were careful to ensure that this exchange was not one-sided. They sought to learn from humanity as much as they taught, recognizing that their own civilization had much to gain from the humans' unique perspective. The crew, though eager to return home, agreed to stay for a time, acting as ambassadors and advisors. It was a role they embraced, knowing that their actions would shape the future of both species. As the days passed, the bond between humans and Zolarians grew stronger. The aliens, once skeptical of humanity's capabilities, now saw them as equals. They marveled at the humans' ability to find hope in the darkest of circumstances, to persevere when all seemed lost. The crew, in turn, admired the Zolarians' ingenuity and their willingness to change. Together, they began to explore new possibilities, from joint scientific endeavors to cultural exchanges. It was a partnership that promised to reshape the galaxy, one built on trust and mutual respect. The Zolarians, reflecting on their journey, realized that they had been given more than a second chance. They had been shown a new way of thinking, one that embraced risk and celebrated diversity. Humanity's actions had not only saved their civilization, but had also inspired them to become something greater. As they prepared to send the crew back to Earth, they vowed to honor that legacy. The black hole had been a threat, but it had also been a catalyst, bringing two species together and forging a bond that would endure for generations. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had been worth it. Humanity had answered their call, and in doing so, had shown them the true meaning of hope. The return to Earth was a moment of triumph and reflection. The crew of Hope, now hailed as heroes, stepped onto their home planet with a sense of quiet pride. They had not only saved an alien civilization, but had also forged a bond between species that would shape the future of both. The world watched in awe as the Zalarian delegation followed, their sleek, advanced ships a stark contrast to humanity's modest technology. The aliens, once dismissive of Earth, now approached it with reverence, eager to repay the debt they owed. The reunion was marked by celebration, but it was also a time of introspection. Humanity had proven that its greatest strength lay not in its technology, but in its compassion and resilience. The Zalarians wasted no time in fulfilling their promise. They shared their advanced technology with Earth, accelerating humanity's development and paving a way for interstellar travel. Yet, they were careful to ensure that this exchange was not one-sided. They sought to learn from humanity as much as they taught, recognizing that their own civilization had much to gain from a human's unique perspective. The crew of Hope, now acting as ambassadors, facilitated this exchange, bridging the gap between species and fostering mutual understanding. It was a partnership built on trust and respect, one that promised to reshape the galaxy. As the days turned into weeks, the bond between humans and Zalarians grew stronger. Joint scientific endeavors yielded remarkable results, from breakthroughs in energy production to advancements in medicine. Cultural exchanges enriched both societies, as humans and aliens shared their art, music, and philosophies. The Zalarians, once rigid and hierarchical, began to embrace humanity's emphasis on creativity and empathy. Their society, long stagnant, began to evolve, becoming more open and dynamic. Humanity, in turn, gained a deeper understanding of the cosmos and its place within it. The collaboration was a testament to what could be achieved when species worked together, united by a common purpose. The Zalarians, reflecting on their journey, realized that they had been given more than a second chance. They had been shown a new way of thinking, one that embraced risk and celebrated diversity. Humanity's actions had not only saved their civilization, but had also inspired them to become something greater. They began to see themselves not as a superior race, but as part of a larger community, one that included species of all levels of development. This shift in perspective was profound, and it reshaped their approach to diplomacy and exploration. They vowed to honor humanity's legacy by helping other civilizations in need, spreading the values of compassion and resilience that had saved them. On Earth, the impact of the mission was equally transformative. Humanity, once divided by borders and ideologies, had come together to achieve the impossible. The success of Hope became a symbol of what could be accomplished through unity and determination. Nations that had once been rivals now worked together, pooling their resources and knowledge to build a brighter future. The Zalarians' technology accelerated this process, but it was humanity's spirit that drove it forward. The crew of Hope, though humble, became icons of this new era, their story inspiring generations to come. The partnership between humans and Zalarians extended beyond Earth. Together, they embarked on joint missions to explore the galaxy, seeking out new civilizations and offering aid where needed. The Zalarians, with their advanced technology, provided the means, while humanity brought the vision and determination. It was a collaboration that yielded remarkable discoveries, from habitable planets to ancient ruins. Each mission strengthened the bond between the two species, as they faced challenges and celebrated successes together. The galaxy, once a vast and lonely place, began to feel smaller, more connected. The Zalarians, now deeply integrated into humanity's efforts, continued to learn from their allies. They marveled at the humans' ability to find hope in the darkest of circumstances, to persevere when all seemed lost. This resilience, they realized, was humanity's greatest gift. It was a quality that could not be replicated by technology or taught in schools. It was born of experience, of facing adversity and emerging stronger. The Zalarians, inspired by this, began to incorporate these values into their own society, fostering a culture of perseverance and optimism. As the years passed, the legacy of hope endured. The mission became a cornerstone of human history, a reminder of what could be achieved through courage and compassion. The crew, though they had returned to their lives, remained symbols of this new era. Their story was told and retold, inspiring countless others to reach for the stars. The Zalarians, now steadfast allies, continued to honor their debt, but they also saw themselves as partners in a shared journey. Together, humans and aliens worked to build a future that celebrated diversity and embraced the unknown. The galaxy, once a place of isolation and conflict, began to change. The partnership between humans and Zalarians set a precedent, inspiring other civilizations to come together. Diplomatic alliances formed, and a sense of community began to emerge. The Zalarians, once focused solely on their own survival, now saw themselves as stewards of the cosmos, responsible for helping others as they had been helped. Humanity, with its boundless optimism and determination, led the way, showing that even the smallest species could make a difference. In the end, the story of hope was not just about saving a civilization. It was about the power of compassion, the strength of unity, and the boundless potential of collaboration. Humanity had answered the Zalarians' call, and in doing so, had shown the galaxy what it meant to be human. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had been worth it. The future, once uncertain, now shone brightly, a testament to the enduring spirit of hope.